Right, hopefully I've got this up this time. This has been such a mission, especially with so let me just check that this is running. No idea. I take it is live. I take it we are live.
Okay.
Alright. Allah. Alright. Zara बच के यहाँ अच्छा चलो एक मिनट चलो ऐसे कर लो. Alright. नहीं आप जाओ ठीक है आप जाओ. Oh no, I've got to get rid of her now. See, I've done this early and now the demon is awake. This is the problem. चलो आ जाओ. चलो आप अस्सलाम वालेकुम बोल लो फिर आपको जाना है ठीक है. बोलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम. Alright. बोलो alright. Alright. Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. अच्छा ठीक है अब जाओ. Love you my child. जाओ दरवाजा बंद कर दो बाहर से. हाँ नहीं आप जाओ. Oh, I gotta wait for her to go. She's not. See, this is the problem with starting earlier. That too many people. अच्छा. ठीक है मेरी जान. Actually, that looks alright. Yellow, ले जाओ. These are actually some gadget ones which I bought for her, which you can kind of like just put on your arm like that. Pretty cool, huh? चलो yellow. अब जाओ नहीं. हाँ ठीक. जाओ. All right. إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم. أهلا وسهلا بكم. خوش آمدید. Huanying Lights. Bienvenidos a todos. And swagatam people. Swagatam. The screen is frozen. I sure hope not. What a week it's been. Right, have I changed that? Yeah, I've decided to come on an hour earlier because so many people can't, because it's Monday, they have to go to sleep early, and you know, not everybody's a vampire like me, I guess. And so, unfortunately, I've had so many requests that I thought, oh, what the hell. I think before I start, shall I agree to the terms of this Q&A? Wait a minute, a question. Do we know what a question is? Let's define what question means first. Okay. Oh, Sid G, you're doing it. All right, Peer Viqar Sahib. All right, ahlan wa sahlan. So, yep, so here we are, people. What an interesting kind of week it's been, huh? What a week, people. Let's get to the topic of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Right, so there's quite a few things I'd like to kind of get out the way. I will be going over a kind of evaluative summary. So I'll go over this discussion between Sheikh Asrar G and Banda Nachiz in front of you. So between Sheikh Asrar and I, this whole debate stroke discussion that went down, that was, boy, wow. So I'm going to come on to that. I guess somebody's asking, how do we know you're serious? I'm only... let me take a sip. Where's my drink? I'm going to need this to wake up, people, to wake up. I have, for the record, I have tried being serious once. I just didn't find it funny enough. But I gotta say, subhanallah, the level of hate, next level, man. Right, as many of you know, that my other Facebook page is currently still banned. So it's going to take, I think, till midweek. So if you guys can share this, share it, like it and share it. Don't be tight-fisted, people. See, this is where you truly get to test people's the kind of rotten nature of their hearts. They're like, why should I like somebody's Facebook status for? Why? Why do I like it? You do know that by liking something, it doesn't actually cost you anything. That's what the like button is there for. So people have this kind of thing that, oh, why should I like it? It's amazing, actually. It's amazing. You give human beings a bit of control. Boy, how they choose to exercise it. So come on then, like it, get it out there. And Santa Claus, Santa Claus is coming. I sure hope Santa Claus is coming. You know, when I'm doing that, by the way, I'm not blocking people. I keep getting these about the memory being on the iPad or something, and I gotta press the button. That's what it is. So it's not, don't think I'm constantly blocking. That said, the mock and block people, the mock and block admin crew are on the ball tonight. So, Allah, I've flattened out my drinks now. You see, I tell you, you know, Pepsi, things like this, the best way to drink them is flat. Allah, Allah. Ice in there as always. It doesn't matter. You know, when it was snowing, I still had to have ice in my drinks. That's just the way. Robin is struggling. She's losing friends because I take it you mean because of me. You're losing friends. Ya salam. Because of, well, that's the test that you got to go through in this world. That's how the Lord tests. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Well, think about it. Don't worry. Look, on the bright side, the people you're sharing it to will just look at me and think, just some guy, got no idea what he's talking about. Just, am I serious now? Or are you mocking? I told you, I seriously joke. And I joke seriously. That's what I do. These things are all synonymous for me. Why do you think I've got into half the trouble in my life that I've got up to? That I've got into? It's because of this. Well, I think the main thing is that we have to be true to ourselves. Okay. Drink maybe with your right hand, question mark. Allah, no really. I'm gonna drink with my left. Anyway, it's amazing how people get so obsessed. They come onto something and they think, well, we gotta tell somebody off. Oh my God, how dare you drink with the left hand? I mean, besides the fact that if they could read, they could see everything's in reverse. But put that aside, and that I'm actually drinking with my right hand. But this to drink with your left and right hand is just from the adab. It's just from the adab. That's all it is within Islam. It's not an obligation. It's not haram to drink with your left hand. It's not, these things don't, you know, it's just from the adab and etiquettes of how to eat. And the Prophet was teaching people etiquettes. And people are like, that's the first thing. You know, if somebody read this, they would think, in Islam, this must be, after one God, it must be drinking with the right hand. And God forbid, you've only got one arm. Then you've had it. This is it, man. This is it. Right, so anyway, this is a Christian thing. No, it's not a Christian thing. It's just from the etiquettes. You know, it's just from the etiquettes of society. You know, people do certain things and the Prophet advised people from the adab of how to eat. But that becomes the today I will do God's work. God has chosen me. Allah, my Lord. Not Jesus Christ, but my Lord, my Lord. Just in case some people are still a bit confused. My Lord has chosen me to do his work. And that work is that I must command those who raise their glasses with their left hand. I must strike down upon thee and strike their fingers off. And then they ask, why is religion a joke? Well, So what's been going on, people? Whoa, so what a week, man, what a week. So first of all, I get banned from Facebook for 7 days. And this, I don't know if those of you that read my post, I want to first of all just say, look, you know, seriously, from the depth of my heart, people, much love, seriously, to all of you for being so supportive. In regarding that issue earlier on in the last week, what I kind of went through, it kind of hit me, I'm going to be honest with you, because it's not that I'm not resilient. I think I'm very kind of personally, I can, you know, put up with all sorts, and I have very thick skin, I think. You know, and I have a lot of patience with people as well. It's not like that. And neither is it that I've not seen riffraff. You'll be mistaken if that's what you're thinking. You know, I've seen and heard it all. It's not that, you know, we've all, you know, I'm born and raised in Birmingham, Handsworth, for God's sake. So the thing is, it's not that these things haven't, but it's just I didn't expect it from a certain crowd who were especially, who are Muslims, to kind of like really, I mean, want to kind of mock me to that extent. Okay, you know, that's not the right thing either, but, you know, you can do whatever the hell you want. That they find my view, and these are not necessarily practicing Muslims, but I'm not here to judge them. But what had happened was this group called Asian Shoutouts. Some people from there they started in the last month logging on to my Facebook Live, and some of them asked me for shoutouts and things like this. And I'm all, you know, I'd like, you got to remember that when I'm on a live, you guys are posting your comments. I only see 2 lines, or at most 3, and they move rapidly. So I don't always see what people are saying. So people sometimes ask me for a shout out. Look, I have no harm in saying, hey, look, we got some, and I do that. And I just, you know, like if I see like a sheikh or somebody coming on that I know, that or somebody that's a guest or that I know, I usually just give them, you know, like, hey, we got so-and-so in the house. And I like this kind of, this is a human kind of, this is what the humanness, the kind of great human family thing is. And so, anyway, these people have been asking for some shout-outs, and some person, he's come on there and he's asked, because they've not got this attention, they've decided to troll me instead. Like, look, I'm not giving them attention, so let's troll him. So they've kind of made posts about me on this Asian shout-out, and there was particularly a character by the name of Shah Islam, and he's kind of got a bit, he's gone borderline obsessed. He became a bit obsessed with me. So I kind of blocked him for trolling, but then he would make different profiles and come on and he'd do all these. And on this group Asian shoutouts for weeks on end, they would just make posts about me and mock me and insult me and swear at my mum and do all these kind of things. And these were only later brought to my attention. And this is why, because they would say this guy is a fraud and he misrepresents Islam. So I'm thinking, wow, and that's how you ought to represent Islam. But then this one day, he came on again in my last session, last week, and I kind of said, look, and I even gave him a shout out, and I said, look, don't troll, otherwise I'm going to blast you into oblivion or something, into, you know, by being blocked. And And then he did troll and I blocked him. So he made some kind of thread on that Asian shoutout saying, look, hey, Abu Layth, Mufti, this Mufti, whatever, he's saying he's going to blast me. And his friends jump on. And the admin, some lady by the name of Yasmin, ASO, Asian shoutout, something, they all jump on this thread. And she owns this whole page, this whole group. And then he's got some friend by the name of like Amun Ra or something. And they jump on. And they're all perceptibly Muslim. And then it shifts from dissing me to dissing. They start off by saying, oh, this is. And then they jump to my daughter. He begins with this. And then they deleted a lot of comments, by the way. But he jumps to this, oh, is his daughter fit? And then it jumps into, oh, what we're going to do to teach this guy a lesson is that they're going to kind of molest my daughter, like sexually. They're going to do all this kind of sexual crap to my daughter. And this is to teach me a lesson. And then they go on like this, and people are cheering them up, and they're kind of like all jumping on, ha ha ha, until somebody says, oh, you pedos, you sick pedophiles, what the hell, like his daughter's like 3, and because they've shared pictures in the past of like my Santa Claus picture, and when I'm wearing that Santa Claus thing and my daughter's standing here, they've shared this kind of stuff. And then they go, oh, you sick whatever, pedophiles, what the hell's wrong with you? So then the guy says, oh, right, oh, I don't know, I thought she was 18. Not that justifies anything. And then they jump on to, oh, like, let's switch to his wife and how we're going to do all this to her. And this is all Muslims, oh, we're going to go this, we're going to take turns, we're going to do all this. And I got to say that really kind of caught me off guard. Like somebody kind of brought it to my attention. And I was just shocked that these people would drop to such low kind of like I wouldn't even expect that from even non-Muslim. I wouldn't expect, even nobody does that kind of stuff. So they drop that low, and the admin and these idiots are just there. They see this and they don't care. They're just like joking. I mean, how can? And this is because you don't like the way I present Islam. Like that's your way of like, I don't like the way he presents Islam. Let's do this. Let's do this to his daughter. Let's do this to his, And it was sickening. I gotta say, it did catch me. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of caught me off guard, and it kind of hit me. Because I just didn't expect that kind of hate. Like I get a lot of hate from people, but I've never ever had that kind of disgusting, vile things being made and said at me, and then going on even openly admitted, like saying on the. So I got some screenshots and stuff, and I made a post saying, look how disturbed I am that these people said this. And the admin, and I mentioned that lady's name, Yasmin, whatever, and I said that, and they just laughed along, and then these people reported my post and for bullying. They reported me for bullying, but obviously because Facebook is all automated and it just checks names, and because I did have their name in my post, I got banned immediately from Facebook for 7 days, and then I made a separate post on this page, just saying, I didn't mention their name, saying, look, this is what had happened. And I was just, honestly, I was kind of disappointed. And I'll tell you what I was more disappointed as well by, the people that started to stick up for them. People came on my post that were from that group saying things like, oh, you can't even take banter. I mean, what kind of sick banter is that? What kind of sick banter is that? I mean, I think I've got a great sense of humor. I think I've got a crazy sense of humor, and I love all kinds of jokes. But what kind of banter is that? In a public place, because you disagree with a scholar, you might think, they're calling me a disco Molvi or whatever, or a fraud, and that's how and then I had some women message me, who, I don't know them, but they're from that group. I think they're the admins as well on that group, who in their profile pictures, although the pictures don't seem real, have like hijabbed kind of pictures, but that could be just a profile picture of somebody else because it doesn't look like a legit picture. But they had this woman, Gulfarine, I don't know her name, right, kind of messaging me saying, look, oh, I'm the admin, and by the way, you got that wrong. It was just banter. She goes to me, it was just banter, they were saying this. They got carried away. And she goes, and by the way, I just want to correct you. He thought your daughter was over 18. Honestly, that really shocked me, man. That here is a woman, Muslim woman, who obviously must have some values, messaging me to tell me. So I replied to her. I said, and that would make it okay to rape her if she was over 18. Is that how you feel? That, you know, you feel that, she's over 18, we can do this now. That's okay. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? So this kind of really disturbed me a bit. And I have reported them to the police, and for the past few days we've been back forth in touch with the police, and I've been gathering evidences and stuff like that, because I think this is sick, and nothing but warrants or justifies that kind of behavior. And I am utterly disappointed in that, and I did make dua against them, and I do, and I will never in my heart forgive those people. You know, what is that is between them and Allah, but what they've said, I will never forgive that. And so that's I suppose, it is what it is. But yes, all that was going on, and I was kind of a bit taken aback, and it just came out of nowhere. And then I'm kind of dealing with stuff like that. I'm dealing with the cops, back, forth, all that kind of stuff. But then in between, I suppose this, I had some other thing from another scholar, an American scholar, kind of aimed at me. That was kind of just saying, which I'm not going to deal with today, but it was also on this same topic of Jesus and stuff. You know, Dr.Shadee, Elmasry, you know, in some videos saying how he feels I've left Islam because of these beliefs, or most likely probably has left Islam now, and just mocking me and stuff like this. But I'm going to come to him at another time, inshallah. But I'm just and I've got that going. And then obviously Sheikh Asrar kind of gets in touch with, okay, this date, you know, we're going to meet now, you know, it's going to be this, because I think he wanted to meet in the morning, and then he said, I can't usually make mornings and stuff, and so he said, okay, it's going to be Saturday, it's going to be Saturday. So all right, fine, alhamdulillah. So all this was kind of going on, so it's been a bit of a a week. But yeah, but I want to say, first of all, before going into this whole what happened with Sheikh Asrar, I want to say seriously, from the depth of my heart, that you know, much love, seriously, to each and every one of you for being very supportive. You know, may Allah keep you all smiling, because it showed that, you know, we've got people have some level of integrity. Even if you can disagree with people, you know, you don't have to be clones, but that was something. So I respect that. Even one, two people who I don't normally like, so we're on some kind of groups together, and they're always taking digs at me, and they were kind of taking digs at me all week as well, and they do that all the time, but I'm used to it. But I gotta say, you know, I respect that as well. There's a character by the name of Layth, who's a former student. I'm not student, sorry. He was a former student where I was. I mean, we were colleagues, and you know, we studied together. We're friends, and although in recent times he's always kind of taking digs at me, but even, you know, for somebody like who constantly I find sometimes so annoying, but with his kind of thing, even he kind of showed, you know, some supportive compassion and stuff like that, and it was interesting to see that. But anyway, so I want to kind of be grateful to all of you, and as the hadith teaches that, you know, man lam yashkurin nas lam yashkur Allah, that Allah, whoever isn't grateful to people isn't grateful to God. So shukran, hayyakumullah. So now moving on to this. Right, so I think I better take a sip here. Right, this is... So this... Right, what's happened... I've had a meeting with Sheikh Asrar that many people have seen. Now, I need to give the kind of backdrop to all of this, because I think people don't really know, or some people, many people do, some people may not. Right, so what's happened is, since last year, I was asked about Jesus and the second coming of Jesus. So I mentioned that, look, this is an issue that many Muslims do believe this, but upon closer inspection, I said certain scholars, especially of the 19th century, 20th century, have revisited this topic and found this to not really be as established as people had claimed it to be. Right, so now so in this, I mentioned some of these ulama. I mentioned names like Sheikh Muhammad Abdu and Rashid Rida, and these are the great Mashaykh of Al-Azhar. And I mentioned things like Mustafa al-Maraghi, who was the Sheikh of Al-Azhar. I mentioned Sheikh Mahmoud Shoutouts, who was the Sheikh of Al-Azhar. I remember mentioning Sheikh Abu Zahra, who's from the Mashaykh of Al-Azhar, kind of. Sheikh Muhammad al-Ghazali, other people, even Ibn Ashur, who speaks on this topic, saying, look, this is just Islamic information, this is not really creed. And he was the Shaykh al-Islam of the last century and the Grand Mufti of the Malikiya. And I mentioned that I'm inclined to this, and this is how I don't believe in a second coming of Jesus. Now, there was a post made in the following weeks by Sheikh Asrar, who he didn't mention my name, but he said that, look, a Mufti from Birmingham has said blah 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 blah. And I know he's really picky about, I have to quote his exact words. Look, I ain't gonna quote your exact words, okay? I'm just gonna say it how paraphrase it. This is life. It's not the word of God. I don't need to be, exactly right. So, but the point is, he made this thing saying that, look, I doubt he's saying this on Facebook. He can do all of this in front of people because nobody can challenge him. Does he have the courage to kind of come and debate like me on it? In other words, and look, I accept a few words here or there, like that day in the debate, I was quoting this and he goes, no, I want you to quote me exactly. And I said, look, I don't know exactly, but you're in front of me. If I say something wrong, just correct me. He goes, no, I want you. So I said, look, you said, does he have the courage to come and debate me? And he said, no. I said, will he have the courage? So I really so I said, all right, Shay, I'm sorry, will he have the, it's saying the word of God, for God's sake, like if I get a word here, there, it's no, just roll with it, man. So look, so since December, I have been trying to make contact with Sheikh Asrar. And he knows this, I didn't have his personal number, but I messaged people he knew, maybe some family family members of his, maybe some other friend. I know his personal assistant, kind of his, who's very close to him, manages his stuff. I did have his number, I messaged him. Then it took me a few days, whatever, to kind of get in touch with people. I did. I said, look, this is going towards late-ish December. I said, Sheikh, I've come across this post of yours, and I said, look, maybe you want to just sit with me, you and me, and, we can just talk this out. I said this seriously, and I've got this, and he knows this, and I said, look, how about it's just you and me, and we avoid all this drama, and we avoid all this entertainment, and how about that? And I actually said to him, look, Christmas holidays are coming up. Christmas holidays are coming up, right? I said, look, Christmas holidays are coming up, and Santa Claus ain't coming, but I said, look, Christmas holidays are going to come up soon, and I'm going away on a holiday with I said, I'm going to take my kids and my family, and I'm going to go on a holiday. Look, how about we meet up just in the next few days before this? Let's get this out the way. But okay, it took a while for him to then he messages me early January saying, look, I'm busy. I mean, this is through through someone, so there's an intermediary in the middle, his assistant. So he's saying, look, I'm busy and I'm doing this, but we'll set something up. And then I say, all right, fine. And then he says, look, I'm busy in January, we'll meet in February. And then he says, okay, look, I don't know if I want to really go ahead with this debate, as in, I'm not saying this to say he's backing off. I don't want you people, his fans or his students to kind of go, oh my God. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what I understood. He said, look, I don't know if this is really even an important topic. So why don't we look for something else and discuss something? So I said, look, but this is what you called me out on. Why don't we just discuss what you called me out on? And this is the backdrop I'm giving you. So it kind of goes back forth between us and him. And then he just says, look, I tell you what, here's a date. We're just going to debate. And then I said, look, but don't you want to sit and chat? Don't you want to do something? Don't you want to make it clear that maybe you've even misunderstood me? And then he said, well, okay. And then he said, look, here's a date at this time. It's going to be in March now. And I said, look, I can't really make those. I can only make evenings. But I'm a vampire, people. I only make evenings. Everybody knows that about. And then he just said, look, okay. In this last week, he said, okay, this Saturday, we're going to meet at this time. At fine. We're going to meet. And so I said, all right, fine, alhamdulillah. To be fair, the beginning, the mindset I had was to kind of define that what are we going to talk about? What are your issues with what I believe? What is it that you actually believe about this? And then we can sit and have a further longer discussion maybe in the future, or a debate. What that turned out to be, you guys probably watched that. It was a disaster. Okay, it was a disaster of biblical proportions. It was an epic disaster, honestly. I'm kind of disappointed, and I think some goodness did come out of it. But what kind of followed, that was important. Look, I've given you the backdrop. We kind of sat down, Sheikh Asrar came, and it seemed reasonably cool. It didn't seem like too tense. It didn't seem, when he came and everything. And he didn't tell me any of he wants to kind of pick a bone with me about something. He didn't tell me that. He didn't say to me, by the way, before we begin, because in all honesty, he could have done that off air, off screen. But he didn't say any of that. He just came, he was normal, greeted, sat down. I sat down, and then he just said, look, wait, I want this to go live. I did actually suggest, are you sure you want to do this live? Like I said that before, look, because live is volatile. We don't know what's going on. And I know that a lot of people on his thing I know they hate my guts anyway. I'd read some of the comments on his post before. They really hate me, man. Sometimes if I ever doubt my existence, if you ever think, do I really exist? I just have to read some of the comments on Sheikh Asrar's, his following posts. And I think, yeah, I definitely exist. Because some people out there, boy, they hate me. Cogito ergo I think, therefore I am. They hate me, therefore I am. Okay, so coming to this point now, we begin this discussion, and I gotta say, look, honestly, Sheikh Asrar begins with, I didn't even get where, I had no idea where he was coming from. He begins with all this. I didn't like this whole approach of I'm going to, a very kind of I'm going to intimidate you. I'm going to kind of, and look, and I'm not saying, just in case his followers say, oh my God, are you trying to say he was just trying to intimidate you? You tried. Look, I'm not saying he was trying, but this is how it comes off. Yeah, I'm just being honest. You could watch the clip. Look, let's just pause this for a moment. Let's pause all of this for a moment. Pause. Look, people, beliefs are something we have in here. Right. Beliefs are something we have in here. Right. Now, you could say to me, look, Mufti, I believe that there's this something's going to happen. I believe in aliens. You could say, I believe that there's a glow-in-the-dark unicorn that exists out there, and it lives on the planet Saturn. You could believe, I believe in ghosts. I believe in exorcisms. You could say, I believe, although that's not a part of faith like that, but I believe in Jesus Christ is going to save the world. He's going to come back. There's a second coming of Jesus. He's going to save the world. Okay, fine. You have a belief. But when you present a belief to somebody, the whole purpose of this is the people should have a right to question and ask, like, okay, would you like me to believe that? So what is this belief about? You know, like, tell me about this. Like, what is this about? Like, what's going to happen? Why do you think that? Does this make sense? This is how, look, this is how the Prophet of God called people to Allah. He called them to one God. They questioned him. You have a right to question. You want me to believe in one God. But, you know, all our parents have been doing this, but all this, can we all be wrong? And the Prophet reasoned with them. He said, yeah, they asked, okay, so tell us more about this God. How does it just work as one God then? And the Prophet's telling them, look, it's like this, it doesn't make sense. And he tells them, this is what, you should be allowed to test the evidence. You should be allowed to test things. That's what belief is. So, okay, now let's go back to the thing. So, Sheikh Asrar begins. And I want to, what is it exactly you believe about this Jesus coming back and saving the world? About this belief of Jesus. What is it? Like, talk to me. But he begins with this whole thing. Okay, let's start. First of all, I do not like the way that kind, oh, what village are you from in Pakistan? What kind of this? What kind of that? You're from this village. I'm not from that village, but it doesn't bother. Look, I don't know. I don't know where we're going with all this. It just, all of this is just confusing the hell out of me. Like, I'm thinking, okay, fine, right, okay, whatever. Can we get to the point? Right, so, right, okay, we are here. Before we begin, I need you to apologize. That was another thing, just totally caught me off guard. Apologize for what? Oh, well, you cracked a joke about Santa Claus in speaking about Jesus. Like you said, Jesus isn't going to come back, but guess who is going to come? Santa Claus is coming to town. Ha 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 ha. I was like, honestly, I couldn't get over this part because I thought, I'm being honest, wallahi, I did not remember that joke. Even right now, I do not remember that joke. Although, if you ask me, I think, yeah, it's something I would probably say. I'm that kind of a person. I would probably crack a joke like that. So I can believe I have said it. I can check. It's not a problem. I haven't checked, but it doesn't bother me. Okay. So you find this joke offensive. Okay, and what? Like, if you find it offensive, what, I've got to change my whole personality? I can't crack jokes anymore? What, you've never cracked a joke in your life that other people haven't found offensive? You know, this right to censor humor. Like, why? Nobody has a right on censor. Look, I'm sitting in my house. I'm paying the bill to kind of go live. I can say whatever on earth I want. You can disagree with me. You can not like it. You can say, look, I think he's making an idiot out of himself. Fine, it's your view. I believe that I respect you to have a view. You know, I think personally, other people are being idiots. I think being serious all the time is being stupid. That's my approach. I think you can never laugh enough in this world. That's my approach to life. That's my attitude. I get that you don't like that. I get you might think, oh, you're being a clown. But that's just me. Come on, look, let's face it. You know that about me. You know, I make a video every week. I'm laughing my head off on all of these clips. So look, don't think like, oh, all of a sudden, like, well, why, oh my God, why are you never serious? I mean, what are we even, so a good part of this next hour that went on this discussion was all about, I ought to apologize, which I said, look, I'm not going to apologize for my personality. If you've got a problem with it, fine. I respect that you don't like that. I accept that. If you're asking me, do I accept that I may offend people? I said, look, I may offend people, but I've never insulted people per se. I've attacked a concept. I've not said, Sheikh so-and-so, blah, 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 or Fulan, or this person, or that person named Abdullah, or this person named Zayd, or that person named Umar is an idiot for believing. I've not said that. I've said, I think this belief doesn't make sense to me. And then I've cracked jokes about Santa Claus, so what? Now, I don't believe that this is, I actually believe that this has crept into Islam from Christian theology. And we can come to that later on. But so anyway, this whole hour kind of goes back forth. I was getting frustrated, I'm going to be honest with you, because I thought, look, if you don't want to talk to me, why have you come? Yeah, why have you even agreed to come here? Because look, you challenged that, look, I doubt he'll be able to ever sit in front of me and have a discussion. Here and then I did think, at this stage, when I got a bit kind of fed up with this, I thought, you know what? Because Sheikh Asrar said, don't worry, we've got till Fajr in the morning. I thought, look, I don't want to be doing this till Fajr in the morning. And look, it's taken me 3 months to have a meeting with you. 3 months it's taken me. And I respect you're busy. I don't know. I value that you're of value to people. I get that. Look, so then I thought, okay, I've had enough. Let's just have a discussion right now. You and me, let's just talk. Let's have a discussion. What is it you believe? Talk to me. Let's discuss this. So we can get an idea. Let's just discuss this. What is it that you believe? And I'm sure, by all means, we can meet again as well. But let's have a discussion now. But one thing I realized is it is impossible. Honestly, I have to say, I have spoken with so many people in my life. I can tell you, I have debated, argued, had dialogues with so many people, Muslims and non-Muslims. I have had with all sects, within, whether Salafis, Sufis, Deobandis, Brailvis, Ikhwan, you name them, Hizb ut-Tahrir people, you name them, any kind of pure extremists. I mean, actual people who want to just kill everybody. I've had conversations with people who believe we should just go out and kill non-Muslims. I've had conversations with, dialogues, these kind of debates with people, atheists, with agnostics, with Hindus, with Christians, with... Wallahi, I have never had such a difficult dialogue ever. Never. This was the most difficult kind of dialogue. If I can't... Really, me calling it a dialogue is a metaphor. It was not a dialogue. But that was the most difficult ever. Wallahi. I have debated and, as far back as I can remember, with people that, that they debate all the time, that they argue all the time, and they disagree with me passionately, and but it's never, and yes, I did expect it to be a bit of this, I did expect it to get heated. I did expect that there will be, some ups and downs, but I thought maybe that might be about 30% of the time at most. But about 70% of the time we will talk. Look, and this is not to just drag people in, but just as an example, I spoke, I think a few weeks back, that I had a dialogue, stroke, if you want to call it a debate, but dialogue with Muhammad Hijab, who's always debating people, and we disagreed, you could say, passionately on things. And it got heated. It wasn't recorded, generally speaking. I don't think it was generally recorded. I don't know, maybe some snippets, but I don't think it was recorded overall. But it got heated at some points, but overall it was a dialogue. He spoke, I spoke, we spoke. Maybe sometimes you might raise a voice, but it came back. Most of it was very civil, most of it, and we cracked jokes, we hugged it out at the end, very, it was good. Yes, it got heated, but that's it at some points, but generally it was a dialogue. This was from the get-go, it was no. And this, I'm serious, I think, I could be wrong, I think that Sheikh Asrar, maybe somebody told him to do this, or maybe this is his own thinking. I think that he was told that, look, you can't let Mufti crack jokes, because if he cracks jokes, he might get the better of you through humor. So this is why he wanted me to stick to his condition that I can't crack jokes, which I didn't, because I said, look, I'm not going to, I am who I am. You know that about me before you've come here. You can't change my personality. The second point, I think and maybe somebody advised him to do this, or maybe this was, I don't know, he wanted me to apologize just so his followers and people could say, well, look, I got, that they corrected the deviation and the deviance of Mufti Abu Layth in public. that, you know, in public we got him to apologize. Like, and you know, wallahi, these tactics of doing things like this in the beginning are pure Indo-Pak baggage and Indo-Pak tactics. Wallahi, I'm not joking. And I know he got offended when I said that later on. I said, look, can you leave these Deobandi Brelvi tactics outside with somebody else? Don't bring them in here with me. And then he got really offended and said, look, I'm not a Brelvi. Why are you calling me a Brelvi? Okay, I respect that. I respect that point. That, look, if Sheikh Asrar is not a Brelvi, okay, fine. He's not a Brelvi. I'm not... And I don't mean to insult him with that. If he felt insulted, fine. But that's usually because he's part of the Brelvi crowd. But if he's not that, fine. However, these tactics are 100% those Deobandi Brelvi tactics, like Indo-Pak tactics. Like, you just have to go on YouTube. There's hundreds of debates on YouTube in Urdu. Watch them. This is exactly what they do, step by step. Seriously, this is all they do. This is like so common. Like, we in the West have moved on. Professors can have a dialogue. You know, you can sit and talk. And you know, Sheikh Asrar himself said to me, look, by his own admission, he said, look, only atheists can have dialogues. Us as Muslims, you know, we can't do that. It doesn't work. Like, that was off screen, he said that. And I have to say, look, I'm just being honest. Wallahi, Sheikh Asrar off screen is a very decent guy. You know, he is very decent. I was shocked how the transformation was unbelievable, because when we stopped that transmission, he just became a totally different person. Like, just like, hey, all mellow, oh yeah, like talking, no raising voice. All right, oh, don't worry about it, Mufti. You know, some people might have hate, but it's all good. You know, oh, so tell me about this. Talking about memories. You know, I remember when I met you in Damascus in the early 2000s. You were talking to me about Fathul Bari, a commentary on Bukhari, and you know, and all these kind of, and he was talking about personal experiences. I was talking a bit about my personal experiences, and I was like, wow. Wallahi, I actually said to his friends and assistants, can you please put this live? Because this is the side that people need to see. But they wouldn't put that live. When they put it live at the end, it was just to make the announcement, and then they switched it off. Although it was recorded, they did record all of this, and as did we. But the thing is that, look, I don't know whether it's the camera observer effect. I don't know whether it's the pressure from his following. I don't know whether it's... But on screen, Sheikh Asrar is just something else. Honestly, it is impossible to have a dialogue with him. By his own admission that we can't do this. We Muslims, this is only atheists are capable of having dialogue. I disagree. I think Muslims can. We can have dialogues. And I think we need to raise our standards. Right? So, look. So this is the whole kind of thing. And I want to mention that, look, yes, people have said that, look, but Mufti, you too started to raise your voice. And you started to kind of, you know, like into the second hour. And I want to concede and admit to that, look, I think... Yes, I did. Okay, yes, I did. I watched back, not the whole thing, but I watched back quite a bit of our discussion. And I was very disappointed. I was once I watched it back as well, I was once again more disappointed in Sheikh Asrar's approach. But I was also in the second, as I do reciprocate, especially after like 1 hour into it. And it's only human. Look, you've got to understand that, look, I did get frustrated because, look, I'm seeing that, look, you're here, you know, let's just talk about this, because this is how it ought to have been. It ought to have been like, look, like if I say to you, guys, I need you to believe in reason, that the religion is based on reason. By the way, as just a plug-in, I've done a whole talk on reason, which I'm waiting for, inshallah, in the coming week or two, which hopefully will be edited and we can release that, and that's going to answer a lot of questions. But let's say I say to you guys, I need you to believe that religion is based on reason. So you should be able to ask me, really, Mufti, so but doesn't it then go with this? And then I'll say, oh, but you can ask me, but when you say reason, do you mean everything? Do you mean this? And I'll say, yeah, but this is what. And what do you mean? You know, Mufti, when you're saying reason, does that allow us to question this then? Does that? See, you should be able to question me. And I should be able to kind of say, well, give you the answers of what I believe, because I want you to believe this. And then you can critique me. You can say, yeah, but Mufti, what about these kind of miracles? And then I would say, well, look, I believe even miracles have an explanation in this dunya, even if people haven't understood them. And so and we can kind of have this discussion. But, whoa, that whole thing just went from, and it obviously frustrated me. And then I obviously started to raise my voice as well. I accept that, and by doing so, I admit, by my own standards as well, I think I kind of may have fallen short. But it's a human reaction, okay? So I do accept that in the second hour of that, it's a 2-hour thing, in the second hour, I also start doing things like that. But it was only because I was getting incredibly frustrated that, look, it's taken us 3 months to sit down. Just talk to me. You know, talk with me. Like, tell me what you believe. Allow me to question it. Like, don't just try to... Like he said, okay, we're going to talk, but we have to have, first of all, the rules of engagement. We need the rules of munadhara as laid out in a certain book. We need this. Do you know this terminology? Do you know debate falls under discourse? Discourse has certain parameters to it. There is then linguistic discourse, which has these categories. Look, impress me with your knowledge of terminologies on another day. Right? I'm not... Look, what is this all supposed to mean? Like, look, what... All these... By the way, these definitions are just a part of Aristotelian logic, which I've got nothing against. I've got nothing against Aristotelian logic. But it's not like you hardly quote... You know, like, oh, I know that there's categories to discourse, and discourse may be subdivided into further categories, and this discourse is now called a debate, and a debate has several elements, and he has this... Look, what are you talking about? Look, it's not that I don't know these things, but let's just have a conversation like a human being. You're going to say, yeah, but I don't know what you abide by. Yeah, but look, when I say something that you disagree with, you can say, like Sheikh Asrar said to me in that conversation or that debate, oh, me, I believe everything in Bukhari to be valid. That's what I believe. So I said, okay, well, there's clearly invalid things in Bukhari. But okay, so now you've realized in the discussion we disagree on things. Fine, we'll move on. You know, this isn't rocket science. You know, I don't need a book to tell me how to have a conversation with somebody. I can have a conversation with you, just talk to me. When we disagree, we'll move over it. We'll move along. You'll just say, okay, fine, but you don't accept this point, so we have a disagreement. Oh, so how do you... How do you prove the caliphate of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu? How do you prove the caliphate of Abu Bakr? What are we even talking about? Oh, I know, because I know what you... And people are saying, well, why don't you engage him? Because, look, I know what you're trying to do. I'm not... You know, give me... give me some credit, yar. You know, I'm not totally thick. You know, it's not like... I know these debate tactics that you're resorting to. You know, you just want to say, oh, you just want to put me down because you want to say that, oh, I problematize the concept of ijma, which I do problematize. I've said that so many times. It's nothing new. I said to you, you said, okay, what can we go by? What can we go by? I said Allah and His Messenger. Allah and His Messenger. Like, why is that so difficult to understand? Look, you accept Allah, you accept His Messenger, I accept Allah, I accept His Messenger, because this is belief, we accept reason. There you go. Don't worry about the other things. Prove it to me. You know, you said to me, this is in the Quran, this is established. You made the claim. This is an established belief. Quickly read to me the verses of the Quran. And we should just, even in 5 minutes, I should just be like, whoa, like dumbfounded. But this isn't happening. Oh, mutawatir al-ma'nawi, do you know the concept of tawatur al-ma'nawi is like this, and trying to show that, look, first of all, you yourself know these things are not agreed upon. Like, why are you using things? Because Sheikh Asrar made out, and he said that, oh, what I'm trying to do is show consistency. Because Mufti Abu Layth, he said in the discussion, Mufti Abu Layth has flawed principles. He doesn't stick to his things, and he has inconsistencies. First of all, I thought, look, that's just a dig. That's just wrong, right? But okay, fair enough. I'm just going to roll with this. I'm going to go with this. Okay, let's just talk. Because look, you're trying to say, I have set rules and I stick by them. You yourself know that isn't true. You know that not to be true. To say, look, I believe something is mutawatir bil ma'na, all these scholars have said this, these scholars have all accepted this, quoting, like these scholars, and as though there's some kind of authority. You don't stick to them yourself. Look, first of all, this very concept of something being mutawatir, great muhaddithin like Ibn Hibban, who has the great, he's one of the early compilers of hadith. He himself rejected that hadith reached that level of tawatur. He said everything is khabru ahad. I'm sure Sheikh Asrar already knew that. I don't need to be bringing these things up. Him saying, oh, so there's ijma on this, that Isa is coming. There is a consensus. Now we need to debate consensus. Why is there a consensus? What, because one person said there's a consensus? Look, let me explain something. Let's take a topic like the parents of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? All these scholars he's quoting, they claim that the same thing, what they claim about Jesus, they claim about the parents of the Prophet being in the hellfire. Which, by the way, I don't accept. Neither does Sheikh Asrar, neither do the Brilvis accept that. So, look, Mullah Ali al-Qadri writes a book saying there's ijma' on this. Right, he says that all the Salaf and the Khalaf and the great Kibar and the A'immah of this Ummah have accepted that the parents of the Prophet are in hellfire. The Hadith is in Sahih Muslim. Imam Muslim brings the Hadith to establish that. Imam Nawawi sets the title as this is the chapter to show that those people will not be benefited by the intercession of the Prophet if they died upon kufr, and he brings in it the hadith that the parents of the Prophet are in hellfire. Bayhaqi writes his book in Dalail al-Nabuwah saying, Qadi Iyad, who they keep quoting, says this is a known, sound, clearly established, riwayah, that the parents of the Prophet are in the hellfire. And look, the same thing, all these kind of same people, these same names, Imam Nawawi, all these people say this, right? Yes, later scholars challenge it. Imam Suyuti challenges it. And the Brilvis don't accept it. I don't accept it. I think it's an absurd statement, right? I don't accept it. But the same thing, look, Sheikh Asrar doesn't accept it. He knows this. It's not like this isn't new. This isn't like, this is my point. Look, you too know that Imam Qarafi, what does Imam Qarafi say? There's ijma' in this, that the parents of the Prophet are in hellfire. He writes this in his commentary on the Tanqiyah. Look, so what if he said it? Him saying it doesn't make it happen. You yourself know this. So look, at the end of the day, we're all just picking and choosing what makes sense to us. Like, you know that, I know that. So why are you acting like, no, anytime the scholars have said this ijma, we must accept it? That's not true. Ibn Abdul Bar, even Qadi Iyad, other ulama said that this Isa coming back is from Khabru Ahad. It is not mutawatir. It is not clearly established. I mean, they've said the hadith are sahih, but they've said it's not mutawatir. Now, my point is that, look, by using this kind of sophistry, these terminologies, you're taking us away from the discussion. Why don't you just talk to me about what you believe? Let me question you. Let's see, does it make sense? And then we can take this further. So I thought, look, that is an important thing to kind of mention. What really did get me, and I hope, by the way, Sheikh Asrar does watch this as well, is that, look, once, as I went through it, when I finished, I kind of obviously read the comments. I went through a lot of messages that I got. People's newsfeed was hilarious. And it was shocking as well. I got a lot of hate, obviously, from his followers. A lot. But it was interesting to see even his followers thought that he had behaved inappropriately, like they thought he shouldn't have done this. And look, this is my advice. Check this out. At the end of the debate or discussion, I actually said to Sheikh Asrar, I think that's really messed up and was a disaster. I don't think you should put that on the internet. Even his own friends that were with him said, we don't think you should put this on the internet. He said, no, leave it. Okay. Fine, I mean, it's your thing. It doesn't bother me, whatever you do with it. Now, I read comments, and honestly, I read some of the messages and all the hate. Okay, put that aside for a moment. What bothered me, honestly, is I came across some kind of message that that kind of told me that, look, the message kind of said to me that I watched this, and this was somebody who was kind of like struggling with faith. Yeah. And they said that, look, this kind of showed them that religion maybe doesn't have that scholarship. It felt to this person that scholarship had failed. That Muslim scholarship today wasn't up to the challenge of maybe tackling modern, because we are in the modern world. And this person felt disheartened about, obviously about Muslim scholars and things, but about Islam by extension. And that kind of hurt me. That, look, my whole mission, my whole thing is really, look, I'm not part of a sect. I'm not part of a Sufi tariqah. I'm not part of a group or an order, or people who who kind of like associate with me or like me or learn from me. This is just from their own goodwill. This is just from their reason they come to. I don't have a following or like that. I mean, you could say maybe a following, but I don't have a kind of sect. But what my mission is, my message is not to hardcore Brelvis or Deobandis, hardcore kind of, this kind of minority, sheer minority of religious, hardcore practicing Muslims. My message is actually to the majority, maybe over 90% of Muslims who are not practicing. And then maybe a strong percentage of them who are unfortunately disenfranchised with the deen. That people who today feel that the deen is nothing but just mythology and fantasy, and they feel that this is just like culture. It's okay, but we don't really, it can't stand up to the West. It can't stand up to modernity. It can't stand up to true criticism. These people are who I talk for. That is my, people who struggle with faith. That is who I'm reaching out to. Now, for somebody like that to give me a message and tell me they're struggling now, that hurts me. So look, I realized that, look, so this was a disaster as far as I'm concerned. Okay, this was an absolute disaster, because unlike, I know Sheikh Asrar's words that we as Muslims can't do dialogues, I disagree, and I will. This is, bi-idhnillah, if Allah gives me strength, I will demonstrate throughout my life, whatever I have capacity, that Islam does stand the test of reason. That Allah and His Messenger are not unreasonable. You can bring me I believe that Islam will not only stand, but it will embrace the message of science and reason. That the greatest challenges that are put to Islam, I do not want to walk away from them in just saying, well, we believe this. I want to stand the test and prove that Islam can answer them. That it can. That these people who are disenfranchised with Islam, who have kind of drifted away, I want to extend that rope to them. And with the words of Allah, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ, that hold on to that rope and to kind of reel that back in for them. That look, Islam doesn't have to be a fantasy religion. It makes sense. Allah is not some sadistic, some kind of the God of the Old Testament. He is a God that has encouraged us about reason. This is what my message is about. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of struggled with this coming of Jesus. Because it didn't make sense. And I'm prepared to talk about this. I'm prepared to present why it doesn't do that. I'm prepared to do these kind of things. But not at this cost. Not at the cost of people once again becoming disenfranchised and losing kind of just heart, losing heart in Islam, not at that cost. So look, this is my message to Sheikh Asrar and his people, that look, you put across a challenge for a debate, and yes, I contacted you the same month last year in December, and yes, it's taken us months, but what I thought this was going to be, wallahi, I thought by debate, my understanding of a debate is we're going to have a dialogue. Okay, we're going to talk. Now, what we've agreed on in the end, the understanding we've come to is, okay, Sheikh Asrar has come to an understanding that, okay, the only things I'm prepared to accept are Quran, Sunnah and reason. He's accepted that at the end, alhamdulillah. But then he made, like, his belief is that, look, we can never have a dialogue. He said that we can't talk with each other, but we can talk past each other. I'm paraphrasing, this ain't his words. But he said the way we can talk is I can talk for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, you can talk for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, I can talk for 3 minutes, you can talk for 3 minutes, I can talk for 3 minutes, you can talk. But we can't talk with each other. We can talk past each other, but not with each other. Not on screen, he said. Right, so look, well, he never said those words because I know he said he's pedantic about his words, so I don't want to kind of, show that, I don't want to be misrepresentative, but this is what he said. He said only atheists can do dialogues like that, but we can't do that. This is what we can do. And he said, I accept you're saying Quran, Sunnah and reason, I accept that. So look, having learnt this and realized the disaster that this became, and having learnt, one thing I learnt is that with Sheikh Asrar, maybe it's my presence. Some people, I've read some comments of some of his people hating on me, saying, you know, that Abu Layth, right, he's so animated, his personality is too animated and loud, you can never have a civil conversation with him. So okay, maybe it's my presence and I crack jokes, people say he keeps laughing and keeps doing things. So okay, maybe it's my presence, maybe it's the camera observer effect, because Sheikh Asrar, as soon as that live went off, he became a totally different person. Wallahi, I swear, he within 0 to 60 in 2 seconds flat, he did that. I found it, whoa, like it. Wallahi, everybody was, and he was a very decent guy. I would say he was the kind of guy that, I would say that I would like to, that personality I would like to definitely meet and have conversations with. He definitely doesn't enjoy my humor as much, so maybe not, we're not maybe like on that chill level. Maybe his other friend or his brother definitely has a great sense of humor. But him, okay, I'd love to have conversations with him. I'd love to kind of catch up, have food and tea and like that. However, I've realized on screen, the screen is toxic, and especially me. So that combination. And then the fact that we can't talk, we can only do 3 minutes, and this is very unnatural. It's not a natural dialogue, it breaks the flow. So look, better than this, better than all of this, what I'm going to say to Sheikh Asrar is that, look, if you can please, rather than speaking for 3 minutes only, speak to your heart's content. I mean, with restrictions, I'm going to come to obviously not till like Fajr, to your heart's content, in your own comfort zone, so you can sit at home or wherever you like. I won't even be there, because obviously maybe I'm agitating you, maybe the live feed is agitating you. So I tell you what, you record your best arguments, present, because you've made the claim that, look, Jesus is going to come back and this is a clear belief, and you now know as well my angles. Like you said, well, I just didn't understand your angle, but now I do. It's Quran, Sunnah and reason. So you now know this. So bring to me the best and the most solid of evidences to believe in why Jesus, we should believe that Jesus is coming back through the Quran, through the Sunnah, through reason. Make a video comfortably, uninterrupted, no 3 minutes, I'm not going to say you should break your flow. Be in your best element. Be in your best element. Don't be on edge. Be the best you can possibly be. Do it comfortably from home. Please cover any Q&A that you think I may have or other people may have. Anything between 1 to 2 hours, the whole thing, please don't exceed 2 hours because it's going to become very lengthy. So if you can cover any counter questions, make this video and put it up for us on YouTube. Okay. I will, inshallah, wholeheartedly, thoroughly respond to that. Okay. With why, if it does make sense, then alhamdulillah, I will embrace what makes sense of it, and what doesn't, I will then respond to that. Because since you made the claim, you are the claimant saying this is what we believe, right? And I believe that this is soundly established. So there you go. Make a video. We obviously tried a dialogue. By your own admission, we can never have a dialogue on screen or being recorded. We can only talk past each other. So you know, we can few minutes, and that's uninterrupted. I mean, that's interrupted. It's not natural. You're not going to be in your element. You know, you're going to put each other off, and then we're going to end up doing this. You know, you're going to end up trying to take digs. You know, I'm a human being. I'm going to reciprocate, man. Like, it's not, and it's going to bring out a character in me which I don't like as well. So it's not good. I'm going to fall by my own standards. You're going to fall by your standards. You know, we should hold ourselves to high standards. So look, you make a video, put it out there. I would hope you can do this, inshallah, within maybe 2 to 3 weeks if you can. That should be plenty of time. You know, just make a video, 1 hour long, 2 hours tops, you know, in the best presentation on why we should believe that Jesus is going to come back from the Quran, Sunnah and reason. If you want, towards the end of it, you can cover any counter questions. You could say, well, I think people might question this based on A, B, C, D, E. And here's my killer responses. Once you've done that, upload it. Inshallah, inshallah, then comfortably in my comfort zone, right? With respect. And by the way, look, people might say I take digs and this and that, you know, and whatever. But I did show, and I do try to show, especially wallahi in person. If somebody meets me in person as a guest, I may crack jokes, I will do these things because that's my personality, but I will always try to respect them. Wallahi. And I always have this thing, no matter how heated something gets, at the end, we should kind of be able to laugh it off. We should be able to kind of hug it out. You know, I firmly believe that. You know, people always, let's have a man hug. You know, let's hug this out kind of thing. So with respect, and you know, I'm going to be, although, you know, and I think it could be that you maybe, Sheikh Asrar, took certain digs at me, did certain things, you know, like those du'as. People say, why do you laugh in the du'as? Like, obviously saying, you know, Allah, guide this person to the truth, let him guide him. Look, I'm going to laugh along with it because I'm like that. I can take that. But, you know, these kind of things are uncalled for, they're unnecessary, unwarranted, you know, these kind of things. But khair, it was a disaster of an event. I admit that. I think by my own standards, I too at some points reciprocated, and hence I fell short in my own thing, and that's an observation that I've learnt. And I think, like, you know what, this ain't my style, man. Like, yes, I joke, I crack things, crack laughs, and, you know, I do this kind of stuff, but I wanted there to be something more there. So inshallah, if you can make that video, I will respond to it with a video as well. Okay, and people can watch this and they can benefit. Hopefully, if you can do that within 2 weeks, I would be much obliged. You know, and I will try to respond soon after as well. I do have some preoccupation at the end of the month, but I mean, inshallah, that's my thing to you. Okay, so inshallah, mwah. Love you, Sheikh. Well, Sheikh, for a moment, was hesitating for a hug, so I had to just say, you know, like, you know, that famous poem of Eid ka din hai, you know, when it's Eid, the person says, Gale lag ja zalim, rasme dunya bhi hai, mauqa bhi hai, dustur bhi hai, inshallah. And I want to say that, look, right, people, anytime, man, each and all. And I want to say, look, listen, keep this message of mine. I want you to remember this, that, look, wallahi, this is the message that hit me. This is what hit me about this debate thing afterwards. is that, look, people, look, to non-Muslims, wallahi, that you Muslims can't even talk about Islam amongst yourselves. That you Muslims can't even talk about Islam amongst yourselves. That, wow. You know, let alone, okay, I can't talk about Islam to an Islamophobe, he hates Islam. I can talk about Islam, and I have, by the way, to Islam, but I'm just saying it could get all, or somebody's a racist bigger, and they're like, you know, I hate all you guys. But look, as a Muslim scholar, like let's say as a scholar to a scholar, I can't even talk about Islam. Like, not just me, but we can't do this. What have we come to? What has this, wallahi, what has the state of Muslims come to? So I think we need to up our standards. Let that kind of baggage go, this kind of debates, and look, by all means, we have a joke and a laugh at times, and I do the same. I do the same. I'm no different. I'm a human being. You know, I do the same. I'll have a joke and a laugh. You know, people might kind of mock me. I'll mock them back, and we do these kind of things on Monday nights with Mufti. But we don't turn it into this whole hoo-ha in this sense. Like, if they did ask for a debate, and this is for future people as well, anybody who's ever thinking of challenging me, right? I want to clarify this and put this out there, right? I will, inshallah, take up challenges and discussions. You know, and I'm always ready to discuss my ideas with people. But one, the person who's challenging me must be a learned scholar. They must be a scholar, because otherwise there's too many Tom, Dick, and Harrys to kind of anybody to say, well, oh, I think you don't understand Islam. So one, they must be a scholar, and alhamdulillah, that's fine, because there's plenty of scholars out there. They must be a scholar. And two, it must be a dialogue. Remember this, it must be a dialogue. So as long as you're prepared to engage, and in the dialogue, if at some point, you know, you might say, oh, we might raise our voice or we might get passionate, some points, that's okay, alhamdulillah. But generally, we must be able to engage each other. So at least the majority of it must be interaction, like the way professors do it. The way professors do it today, the way Richard Dawkins goes around having debates and dialogues with people. Why can't, we're not any less as Muslims. We can do the same. So as long as, so remember these things. So if anybody, you know, wants to ever challenge me, as long as they're a scholar, so alhamdulillah, then, you know, ala ra'si wal ayn. And secondly, it must be a dialogue. It can be a debate, but as a dialogue. And then, please know my personality before you come, right? Don't come and say to me, look, please don't be like this or don't be like that. Just as I don't dictate to people either. I won't tell anybody, look, you know, I think you don't smile enough, or I don't like the way you dress, or I don't like... And, you know, this is, I want to say a point here. This is something I think it's important to understand. Look, some people say, you know, Mufti, you sit in a t-shirt and you do this and you do this. Look, this is my own house. You know, I'm sitting at home right now, by the way. But this is my kind of man cave I've made in here. This is like a library. I've got an arcade machine as well, retro from the 80s and 90s. I bought an arcade. This is where I chill. This is my man cave. I'm at home. This is how I am. Right now, I understand people are saying, well, you know, if you go to a business interview, you wouldn't go looking like that. Well, I'm not at a business interview, to start off with. Secondly, people say, well, but you're speaking about Islam. True. Look, please listen to this from me now. This is about me. At least give me the right to express myself. And this is to all my haters as well, right? Because there seems to be a hell of a lot. Right? So, look, the way you see me here right now, I'm cracking jokes, I'm laughing, I'll suddenly start laughing about something, I'll suddenly do things. I am like that if you find me outside on the street. Like if you see me someday in a shop, in a cafe, at the gym, or wherever you see me, I will be exactly how I am. I'll actually dress like this. I don't dress differently for this talk. It's not like I normally walk around in a... I mean, when I go to... it's not like I'm walking around in a jubba and then when I'm here, I just put on a t-shirt for you guys. This is... if you see me right now, I'll be sitting... Let's say if I'm... Quite often we're on Alamrock Road, having our vampire sessions, drinking tea, chatting. This is how I'm sitting. This is how I'm laughing. This is how I'm doing things. I don't change for the screen. Off screen, on screen, I'm the same. That's the problem that people find. People say to me, on screen, you should be different. But why? Because I find that as double standards. Like, if you find me outside, like imagine I act really serious or reasonably always like this and I always wear a jubba, and then you see me on the street one day and you think, hey, check that guy, isn't that Mufti Abu Layth? What a hypocrite. Look at him. He is acting like he's just like a regular lad and there he is online acting all pious. But I don't act pious. I've never said to anybody I'm pious. People have asked me, Mufti, would you come and give a talk on piety? Would you give a talk on the benefits of reading so much tahajjud and doing dhikr? I've said no. Wallahi, I've said no. I've said because I don't practice stuff like that. I'm not a pious person like that. So yes, Allah has inspired me to love Islam and its legacy. And I love that and I learn about it and I try to teach what I learn. That's all I do. I just probably bare minimum in Islam, praying and keeping Ramadan fasts and stuff like that. But I'm not out there trying to act like, hey, I'm some kind of super pious Pir Sahib. I'm not. Right? So, look, but why I do this is so I can keep it real. Like, if you see me, you're not going to have cognitive dissonance. Let me tell you, look, this is not to be judgmental. Several years back, I was in al-Azhar, right, for a short while, for just a couple of weeks. And there was a great Mufti who I love there, Mufti of al-Azhar in Egypt. And really got on with him. Awesome, great guy, great mashallah. And he really took a liking to me as well. And, always in that al-Azhar gown. I forgot, I don't know what they call it now. I did know, but they have that special Azhar gown, the special Azhar kind of attire. And always very kind of... held himself and everything, and by the way, I love this, and this is in no way, I'm not taking a dig at this person in any way. The reason I'm mentioning this story is just to tell you so you can relate to it. This person is an awesome, beautiful, amazing person, right? So please don't take any message like that from this. But this guy, one day, so we're chilling out, I was there for a couple of weeks, and towards the end, he said, like, all right, I'm going to take you guys out. I'm going to take you guys to the pyramids. We're going to chill out and show you around. I was like, awesome, alhamdulillah. So we went out this day and we're meeting at this place. And this Mufti has come. But he had come in jeans and like a tracksuit top and like this kind of cap. I'm not judgmental. Wallahi, I'm not. How could I be judgmental? I mean, just look at me. I totally walked past him. I didn't know who he was. Like, I just thought he's just somebody else part of the group. So I'm waiting that, so I'm thinking, so the Mufti hasn't come today. Damn. And then all of a sudden he's talking to me and I'm like, oh my God. Wallahi, I had cognitive dissonance. Like, this is me having cognitive dissonance because he just looked so different. Now, I'm not to judge him, but can you imagine now, regular Muslims, this is how I feel, if I did things like that, like if every time I sit down, wear a gown and a thobe, and then you catch me on Alamrock Road like this, in a t-shirt, you're going to think, hey, that's Mufti, look at him, that natte, this guy, off air, look how he is. Loud and on air he's like subhanallah. Are you not gonna be honest? Be honest, wallahi, you are people are, I would even do it. I mean, I'd be like I'm gonna have to confess, I'd be a judgmental bigot and I'd be like, oh look, oh. So, but even I would end up doing that. So look, this is why I just want to be normal. I want people to judge me, fine. I mean, I don't want them to judge me, but if they're going to judge me, what you see is what you get. Okay, you catch me outside, I'm going to be exactly, catch me outside, how about that? You catch me outside, I'm going to be exactly the same. You're going to think, bloody, and I'm going to laugh the same as well. I'm going to crack jokes the same as well. And I'm going to do these stupid kind of little, I don't know, idiosyncrasies that I do all the time. I'm going to do them too. And that's just who I am. I'm not going to put on an act for a screen. And I get that, you know, makes many people say, oh, you know, we can't call this person to this and we can't call him to lectures or conferences. And fine, you know, I don't need that. I am who I am. And by the way, and for the record, when I do go to conferences, I do wear suits. You know, like everybody else. I don't, people go, oh, you know, if you're going to a business meeting, would you dress like that? But when I go to a conference, you don't see me in a t-shirt at a conference. Whenever I go to these talks and conferences, I'm always in my suit. So I don't see what this thing is about. But anyway, I thought that was really important to mention. I didn't mean to kind of go on about all of this, but I thought these were some really important points. I want to give, you know, a deep, much love and a shout out to everybody that's been supportive, because I did see a hell of a lot of hate after that debate as well and discussion. And Sheikh Asrar, I know he doesn't go online much, but I wish he would, just to tell some of his followers off, man. That kind of stuff. Like, they really, some people have this passion to hate me. And because this week had just been so intense, I'll be honest with you, because this week a lot had happened. And I was reading all these things, people carrying so much hate for me. And they don't even know me. Like, I've never met them, ever. And it just shocked me, man. But the amount of love, I have to say, I got a lot of love, respect, online comments. I was reading comments, I was reading Nasiha, people were giving tips, they were giving advice. I read a post by Dr. Umar al-Qadri, who I respect immensely, by the way. You know, once again, see, he disagrees with me on this point of Jesus. You know, like, he actually even mentioned, but you know, I have like deep respect for him as a person, doing amazing groundwork. And he even made a post about, look, I think really this just feeds the egos. And I kind of thought about it, and I thought he's got a point. You know, he's right that I think this kind of maybe just fed into my ego as well. And I need to kind of like just check myself. So I respect that. You know, I get these kind of things from people. I think about it sometimes, and people give me support. Kaleem Sharma Qadri Saab from Canada. I gotta say, I totally love the brother. Always the love, I just feel the love, honestly. Even though, look, these are people I don't even meet. I mean, when I say don't meet, I've never met. They're like continents apart. But wow, and they probably disagree with me in all this stuff, honestly. But just amazing. And obviously my own friends around me, very supportive, and that's obviously always awesome. And other people, so that kind of stuff, it does make it makes that difference that you think, yeah. Like, I think that day I'd read so many things, and it was like in the middle of the night, actually. And we've got from the UK a Nasheed artist, I don't know if you know Jalal Sayyid. Great guy, great Nasheeds, by the way. But he kind of gave me this call in the middle of the night, and just to say, look, Mufti Saab, you know, all this thing going on, I just want you to know that, don't worry, man, for one hater, there's thousands of people that love you, and we love you. And I just thought, you know, I like it. It's good, you know, it's good, these kind of things. I think you need to kind of, it gives you that energy to kind of just, I thought, you know what, after that kind of stuff, I thought, all right, I thought in life, our greatest victory, you know, the words of like Confucius kind of came to my mind, that our greatest victory in life is not in never falling, but in rising each time we fall. And I thought, to rise, Allah, that these people, they can hate all they want. I've got so much more for them to be mad and hate me for. Inshallah, just be patient. This is only the beginning, people. This is only the beginning. I thought you guys You can say and do all you want, man. You can throw me to the wolves. But I'm going to come right back, bi'ithnillah. I'm going to come back leading the whole damn pack. As a true vampire would. So that's what I'm saying, man. So unlike somebody just said, so unlike Jesus, you will rise, keep rising. All right, tell you what, let's take some rapid round questions, and we'll then wrap this up. Probably in about the next 10-15 minutes, we'll call this a wrap. And what I will do, from every week, I will try to do this from 9 o'clock. I know I'll be a bit late as always, but 9 o'clock as opposed to the 10 o'clock, because I realize that people struggle with that, alhamdulillah. So, werewolf, the wolves. Yeah, but I've always felt that vampires had some connection with wolves as well. I don't know why that is. Why is that? But I've always felt that. I've had this kind of vampire theme since I was a kid, you know. Lost Boys. That's it, man. Always had a fascination with vampires. Right, so, look. Right, so let's take some questions. I was asked a question. People asked me about ijma. This thing of ijma, look. Maybe someday I'll do something detailed. I've answered a lot about ijma previously. Ijma means consensus. Yeah. And there is no consensus on what consensus is. They haven't even, scholars haven't agreed on, there is no ijma on ijma. So this doesn't make any sense. This is a tool that is used to intimidate other people. That's the truth. I do, in my personal understanding, believe that ijma had an origin, it had a genesis, which is not applicable today. And it was only in the early community amongst the companions. And what ijma was amongst them, I'll tell you what, in my understanding, and I presented this understanding to one of the leading scholars of the Maliki world today in Morocco, Sheikh. I presented this when I was in Rabat, at the house of Sheikh Muhammad Rugi, and he spells it Ruki, but Rugi they pronounce it. He's a legend. He was one of the grand sheikhs of the Qarawiyyin and one of the leading ulama of the Malikiyya today. And I presented this to him, and he actually said that makes a lot of sense, and he kind of agreed with it. I don't know whether he teaches it like that in public, but he did agree, and he said that does make a lot of sense. I said that, look, in my understanding, that this ijma, the way scholars quote it and they use it in the books, has no reality. They claim ijma in everything. And nobody agrees on what ijma is. And who's in this ijma, by the way, consensus? Like I asked Sheikh, I said, who's in, like the Shia ain't in our ijma. So the Shia, so they're disregarded, and then the other sects are disregarded, and then each other, they consider them disregarded. Who the hell is this consensus? What kind of a consensus is this? And where does this come from? Because the evidences for consensus don't come from the Quran or Sunnah. The hadith they present is a da'if hadith. Da'if. So da'if hadith. So, and the verses that they present are nothing to do with this concept. But do I believe that it had an origin? I do believe. Now, I want you to pay attention to this. What I think happened this is my evaluation. I think that this concept emerged with groups like the Khawarij. Now, in early Islam, the first major group sect that emerged were this extremist, radically extreme sect, which are like modern day ISIS, basically. Perhaps, I think they were maybe a few levels ahead of ISIS, but they were pretty much like ISIS. ISIS are the illegitimate children of the Khawarij. Now, the Khawarij believe that anybody who committed a sin is a kafir, and if they're a kafir, they will definitely be in the hellfire, and we are allowed to execute these people because they're kuffar. They relied for this interpretation on apparent not interpretations, apparent readings of the Quran. So they read certain apparent verses which apparently read. Okay, I keep saying this word so you understand that the literal verse supports their understanding. It doesn't support the majority of the Muslims. The literal verse says, and anybody who is surrounded by a sin will be in the hellfire. Anybody who kills a Muslim will be in the hellfire forever. So these sins will eternalize you in the hellfire. So the apparent readings of the Quran, not of all the Quran, but of these select verses, read like this, textually, literally. So if you're saying something else, you're going with the interpretation, they're going with the apparent. So this became a problem. So these people are saying that, look, the Quran is saying this, but you want to go with your opinion. But the Quran is saying that they are kafirs. The Quran is saying whoever doesn't rule according to what Allah said is a kafir. The Quran is saying that, and strike them and kill them and hit them strike their necks and strike their fingertips. The Quran is saying this. So what was happening is this group, the Khawarij, were using this. So what happened is the companions said, the great companions, people like Abu Bakr, people like Umar, Ali, Uthman, all these great companions, companions of understanding, Ibn Mas'ud, companions who used to give fatwa, and like by Amr ibn al-As and Muawiyah, and all these great companions. They said, Bilal and Khalid bin Walid and all these great people, they said that, look, no, we lived with the Prophet. He was a walking, talking Quran in front of us. Like Aisha said that you want to understand the Quran, the Prophet was the walking, talking Quran. Yes, this verse apparently reads that. It does apparently read that. But it doesn't mean that. How do we know that? Because the collected, inherited understanding of these verses by his living companions alive today will demonstrate to you that the verse didn't mean that. This is where this ijma kind of was born. That, look, we are those companions, not any companion, not like how Ibn Hajar said, oh, the companion, anybody who met the Prophet, not that understanding of companion, but true companions. Like in Tirmidhi and in these other books, Abu Dawud and these other books, when Anas radiallahu anhu is asked, are the companions of the Prophet alive today? And he said, maybe people who saw the Prophet are alive, but his companions are not alive. They've passed away. Because what the Prophet meant by his companions were those who were often around him, like his friends and his support, not just like anybody who saw him, but that's like a technical word, companion, that some scholars kind of extended. But his true companions, they inherited his understanding, and they said, look, listen, we inherited this. The Prophet never meant go around killing kuffar. He never meant that. The Quran never meant that. This had a context. This is where ijma was born. And that level of ijma to do with beliefs not being corrupted, alhamdulillah, I embrace that. I wholeheartedly embrace that understanding of ijma. That understanding of ijma to do with the Quran not being misused, to do with beliefs around people don't become kafirs, and these kind of few key issues, there weren't many, but these things, yes, the Sahaba taught that if that's what you mean by ijma. Later on, people started to expand this, and they started to take it even into fiqh, and like even fiqh has ijma. And this is why Imam Ahmad said, Man idda'a al-ijma fahuwa kadhib. Whoever claims ijma is a liar. This is the famous saying of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. But then they're going to say, oh, but his followers accepted. Because later on, people kind of went with the institutionalization, because they used ijma for their own strength. They used it to intimidate followers. They used it to coerce opinions. It was a very key tool. And yes, the Sunnis will reject the Shia from Ijma. They will reject them from Ijma. They will reject. So what is this all about? So this is why I think that's important, okay. Right, so okay, let's get that out there. Another important question. Somebody said to me in this debate that, oh, this guy claims to be a Maliki. And this is a question, by the way. This isn't to do with the debate. This is a question. I'm just taking some questions. Somebody said, look, and there it is again, about Ijma. They said, oh, this guy denies Ijma. He said, now they're quoting me saying, Allah and His Messenger, Allah and His Messenger. Everything else is just men. And the person said, you know that pious one when people start to go like all, and then they're going to say what Mufti mocks. Well, what do you expect me to do? Like, do you want a medal for that or something? Why are you being so dumb and stupid? They go, oh, everything else is the opinion of men, right? So in that case, oh, how can he be a Maliki? Amalu Ahl al-Madinah. Amalu Ahl al-Madinah is men. This is the problem, isn't it? We've got like the voice pieces, those who want to be the voice pieces or carrying the kind of microphone are like, they're like from the Sunshine Group. You know, they're like from that kind of bottom set in schools. You know, like who just colour in. It's like I read on this t-shirt, it said, I would explain this to you, but I haven't got the patience nor the crayons. You know, colouring in. Today we're going to colour in the word sunnah. We're going to colour in. Honestly, these people, ya salam. Look, those of you that don't know, in the Maliki Madhab, there is something known as the practice of the people of Medina. That the inherited practice upon which Imam Malik found people. This, by the way, this word, Amalu Ahl Medina, or what Imam Malik would say, the Amal, the action was upon. It wasn't, this wasn't the culture of just men. This was the Sunnah of the Prophet. The Sunnah of the Prophet. Imam Malik himself said that when they asked him, he said, Alfun an alfin. I have transmissions from 1,000 different people, taking it from 1,000 different people, taking it from the Prophet in this city. And he said, and then I have a chain, one transmission, even the golden chain, Malik an Nafi an Ibn Umar, deemed by Bukhari the most authentic chain. He said, but this is just one-on-one. And I've got 1,000 people saying it from 1,000. He said, Hum ahabbu ilayya alfun an alfin ahabbu ilayya min wahidan wahid. That 1,000 from 1,000. So these 1,000 people telling me they took it from their forefathers who took it from the Prophet directly is more beloved to me than this one chain, this one-on-one in this hadith. And he said that this one-on-one, يَنْزِعُ الدِّينَ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْكَ. It will snatch the deen from right in front of you. It will snatch the deen. So look, this Amalu Ahl al-Madinah, which sometimes some people have called Ijma Ahl al-Madinah, this is not Ijma. This is not Urf like that. This is Sunnah. This is from the Messenger of Allah. And if you don't believe me, read, God damn it, the books on Usul. When it came to, look, they said, as Qadi Iyad and all these people said, Amalu Ahl Madinah must be the manqulat zahira. It must be the apparent things which the collective community witnessed from the Prophet. There is no room for ijtihad. No room for ijtihad. Then there's a second aspect. So this is the main thing of Amalu Ahl Madinah. So for example, the Prophet used to recite aloud in certain prayers. Everybody witnessed this. They witnessed it from them. It was from the Amal that the Prophet never read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim when leading in the prayers aloud. It was from the amal. He never read that aloud. Now, yes, so we know that if you begin prayer, this is how the Prophet used to begin. Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Now, did he say it silently though? This becomes an ijtihadi issue. Okay, this becomes an ijtihadi. Because true, we agree that the amal, the collected practice was he never said this aloud. But maybe he said it in his mind, or maybe he said it inaudibly. You can't negate that. I can do my ijtihad, I can assume. So this second part, which is the assumption level, the ijtihadi element, is a bolt-on to Amlu Ahl Madinah. This was accepted by some of the Baghdadi and Iraqi Malikiya, and I respect that point. There was many amongst them, they discussed this. Ibn al-Muntab, al-Abhari discusses it, Abdul Wahhab al-Baghdadi, Ibn al-Qassar discusses it, all these kind, al-Laythi discuss, Abu al-Faraj al-Laythi, all these people discuss this. Okay, they're from the Baghdadi Iraqi Malikiya. The other Malikiya didn't really like this, they didn't accept that. Okay, but what they all accept as a hujjah is the things which are undeniable, are perceptible. So you perceive them. Okay, they are apparent. That is Amalu Ahl Madinah. It is from the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah. So when they said, how was the adhan done? That is from the Sunnah. It was perceptible. Everybody inherited it. How much water did the Prophet used to use for wudu? He used to use a scale called a mud. That was inherited, that practice. Where is the Prophet's mosque? It is inherited. Everybody witnessed it. Where is the Prophet's tomb? It is inherited as a practice. And the Prophet doing certain things that people, this is inherited. This is Amalu Ahl Madinah. So don't you dare test me in my understanding of the madhab of the school of Medina. Allah, Allah. Don't you dare. Allah. As I said before, people, Jalake Rak, I'll raise your arguments, I'll burn them to the ground. As Dag, and I've quoted him before, saying that Falak ko pada dil jalon se kam nahi, that the heavens haven't messed with this level of craziness. And Jalake Rak na kar dun, to Dag naam nahi. That if I don't burn your arguments to the ground, people, then you can change my name. But this is the point. So don't you try to attack my knowledge of the Maliki Madhab. That's to people criticizing that. Right, so Allah. So yeah, so right, let's take some rapid questions and then we'll wrap this up, people. What are we looking at? Is it fiqh only? No, this is because what I'm trying to say is people, you see, they don't like the fact that I'm Maliki, right? Because they think, this is how people work. Let's discredit him. Let's discredit everything. Let's just make him an isolated target so he doesn't have any legitimacy. Right? So that's my point, that people do that, okay? So that's not what... Salams from the Qarawiyeen. Alright, wa alaykum as-salam. Ahlan wa sahlan. Doing it. Right, so moral ethics. Yeah, this discussion on moral and ethics. Okay, I'll sum this up then. People discredit. Look, don't discredit. Don't try to just debate, argue, ridicule concepts. I'm all with that. Don't begin with saying stuff like, so this is what people will do. They'll begin by saying, oh, so he's not even a mufti. Why you gotta be like that, man? That's like, look, you're a doctor. Because look, you gotta study your whole alim course. You gotta graduate. You gotta go through all the years, get tested. You gotta go through, studying all these diverse sciences, Quran, tafsir, hadith, usul hadith, Arabic language, morphology. You gotta study rhetoric, fiqh, usul al-fiqh, different madhabs, adab, literature, history, creed, theology, philosophy, logic. We have to go through all of this stuff year in, year out, getting tested. Like, you don't have to memorize the Quran, but okay, I memorized the Quran as well. I did all of these things. You go through that. Then I studied the major books of hadith from cover to cover, all the major books, from Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi. We studied Nasa'i, Ibn Majah, the Muwatta of Imam Malik. Given a chain of transmission in them, had to be tested on them, not only by the madrasa but by an independent board called Wifaq al-Madaris. That is graded at a master's level, by the way. So I got a master's for that, for my Dawra Hadith thing. Beyond that, then you can apply to learn how to give a fatwa. The fatwa thing, I had to do 2 years of training, under which I had to go into finites of fiqh, read things, be tested, take live examples, issue fatwas, do stuff, and then be tested, and then graduate and pass. So look, why you gotta be like that, man? Like, why you gotta begin by saying, oh, by the way, he's a fake? Like, why? Like, look, that's like me going to a doctor who says, you know what, I've got an idea. How about we try this medicine as a therapy? We think out of the box. I go, oh, so you're just a fake doctor then. Your degree must just be fake. It's like, what the hell? Like, why do you have to begin by dismissing my credentials? Of course I love my credentials. I mean, it's the greatest thing I think I ever did in this life of mine. And, I think it's an amazing blessing from Allah. So I love it. So look, I'm personally using proud in the English way, very proud of it. I'm not in that arrogant way, but very proud of being a Mufti. So I love that. So of course I put it out there that yes, Mufti, because it's the greatest thing I think I've ever done. So look, and it's not easy to do. You can't just begin. It is at a PhD level, although it's not graded as a PhD. So I think when people begin, I heard somebody say, oh, the first thing they'll do is, oh, he's not a Mufti. And then they'll just mark, oh, he's an idiot, he's a clown. And this is now just so you can say, and this, I'll tell you something, this shows, when it comes from scholars, it shows the deficit in scholarship. Like, you can mock me, like you can mock how I'm being, like say, oh, the guy's got this little goatee and he's like, oh, spiky hair. You could say he laughs like, ah. You could do all of that, as, or in the words of one of our friends, Nav, bear love. Bear love, right? You can do all of that. But the thing is that, why you gotta first of all begin by saying, oh, the guy's fake, like as in his credentials are fake. He's not even a qualified mufti. What? Anyway, let's take some of these questions. Huh? Let's take some of these questions. Your watch is too heavy. I love these. I love these kind of watches with a bit of size to them. You know what I'm saying? These square dials. I think I'm part of an extinct breed now. I think a lot of, when I was looking for square dialed watches, I couldn't find many of them. They were like discontinued. It's part of, who's Nav? Nav is my stunt double. The one wherever he goes, everybody is in my photographs. Everybody says, oh, is Abu Mu'adh? Everybody says, oh, is that your brother? which has even got me doubting now. So I'm thinking one of our lineage is messed up or mixed up or something. When are you going to make explaining Surah An-Nisa 434? Oh, is that the hitting verse? I have explained that on Facebook before, but I will do a video. I will try to get that edited as well. I was referring to the right, this thing on ethics. I have said that, look, in my understanding, ethics, Islam came about the connection between creation and the Creator. So you got Allah, the Khaliq, and the Makhluk. Ethics is really to do with us amongst ourselves. And this changes over time. So Islam did provide solutions, but they were, the ahkam that came, the laws that came, were a social remedy. They came as a solution to society, not as a kind of divine, the vehicle was divine, but the rulings per se was simply a remedy. Okay, so that's an example. Is like, let me give you an example. Like, look, Allah commands, as a command, it is fard for Muslims to take up a defense strategy. Allah says, وَأَعِدُّوا, this is a commandment, an imperative verb. وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ, and prepare for them in defense. Get your defense together, just in case Muslims become vulnerable or are attacked by people who hate Islam. And Allah says, مِن رِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ, get this together, get your horses and tie them together and prepare these things of horses. Now Allah said that in the Quran, that's a verse of the Quran. Today, that wouldn't apply to horses. You wouldn't go around like saying, okay, we should have a defense in this country, let's get a hell of a lot of horses together. Today, that would be a different military defense. You would have tanks, you would have, fighter jets, you would have maybe state-of-the-art weaponry, stuff like this. Now, why? Because look, the objective was to get a solution. It wasn't to get fixed on this word of horses or this. But Allah is saying, tie the horses. Allah is saying that. He is saying that. That's true. Right, He is saying that. That's true. But times have changed. And Allah, this was simply a remedy. And the ethics like that, all these things change with time. Not all things, but several things change with time. So somebody asked me, look, do you believe in the chopping of the hand? And I have mentioned before, I've got a whole video on Imam Burzuli, and I've mentioned that, look, I do believe that ethics change with time, and I believe that this is found, it's reflected in the thoughts of people like Imam Abu Hanifa and the early Maturidiyya school. I believe that, that's my reading into it. I know some people who are Maturidi and they've tried to say, no, you're wrong in this, you're wrong. Fine, okay, according to your understanding, it's different. But there is an usuli debate in the books of usul called about al-husn wal-qubah al-aqliyan. That does good and bad exist only because God says it, or is it something that humans perceive? And some people, including Imam Abu Hanifa, felt that no, it's something that we as humans perceive. It's not God defined. And the other people in the past went with the divine commandment theory, as Plato and these people highlight it in philosophy, which is there is no good and bad in this world. When God says don't do this, it becomes bad. So basically, killing someone isn't bad. It's only bad because God said so. I find that very naive. And it defeats, and if you read the Quran, if you just have a general reading of the Quran, it completely goes against this way of thinking. The Quran does address you as though things are good and bad. It doesn't address you like as though we do perceive things to be good and bad. That's the language of the Quran. So I think, look, I don't agree. So I fall in line with the fact that we can perceive this. Now, I know some Maturidis and other people have tried to interpret that differently then. That's their interpretation. My understanding is ethics, this good, bad, is something we, society, arrives at. And it continues to develop and change. So today, yes, people, to chop somebody's hand off today would not be the solution. The Sharia would mandate that you change that. You would have you would have a punishment of the age. Now, this is something that I explained that the legendary Sheikh al-Islam of his time, of the Malikiyya, great Maliki scholar from the 800s, whose name is Abul Qasim al-Burzuli, highlighted this hundreds of years ago. And I have this whole discussion on this. It's on YouTube. And somebody tried to refute me, and then I have a refutation showing them where I read from the books that he does actually say this. Now, so somebody asked me, this is a good question. So does this mean that today this verse of the Quran is no longer relevant? So does this mean, so somebody asked me, you're saying, Allah says, وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ فَاقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُمَا جَزَاءً بِمَا كَسَبَا نَكَالًا مِنَ اللَّهِ, that, you know, cut and the hands of punishing, let's say, adulterers or whatever, or cut the hands of the male and the female thief, and this is a punishment from God, so is this irrelevant today and immaterial? And I think that's a good question. They've asked me that, do you believe this? And my answer is not at all. I believe this verse, just like every other verse in the Quran, is absolutely relevant. Absolutely relevant. And it's more so relevant because of this discussion. And they've asked me, but you're saying we don't follow this verse. I'm saying absolutely not. I'm saying we do follow this verse. We absolutely follow this verse in the Quran. وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ فَاقْطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُمْ جَزَاءً, or وَالزَّانِيَةُ وَالزَّانِي فَاجْلِدُوا كُلَّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمَا. We follow, look, what is this verse teaching? What is this verse teaching? First of all, it's teaching that this is such an important issue that Allah has intervened and revealed a verse in the Quran. So it's important. It's teaching us that theft is a violation of people's honor. That this violation needs to be punished. Okay. That there needs to be justice. Justice needs to be served. That it needs to be known that justice has been served. That there can be no discrimination between the genders. وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ. That don't think, oh, because it's a woman stealing will go easy, or because it's a man, or because it's a woman committing adultery will go harsher. Like in some cultures, they'll punish the woman, call her call her a prostitute and stuff like this, and the man will just go, no distinguishing between there's no discrimination between the genders. Okay, do not let compassion, Allah says, do not let your emotions divert you away from delivering justice. Do not let your emotions turn you away. There needs to be justice. There needs to be justice. Right? Allah says that there should be no nepotism. No nepotism. Nakalam min Allah. This is from Allah. Do not favor them. Oh, that's, you know what, because he's my relative, he gets away, but punish that good for nothing. No. And then Allah says, that this is in the Quran, that, okay, chop their hands. Which is something that happened in their day and age. That before Islam even came, that they were used to. So the delivery of how that's done is one which we disagree in. For our day and age, saying that, look, the delivery has changed because the age has changed. Just as collecting horses, today the delivery of having a military defense has changed because we don't need horses today. That's changed. But all these other things stand and are even more so relevant today. So it is not true. The only one thing that there has been a change is in how we deliver that punishment. And the delivery ought to be commensurate. It ought to be from your age. Okay. So that's the one thing I disagree. That's the one thing that I think that today the Sharia would teach differently. That the Sharia would mandate that, okay, this is, you wouldn't today chop hands, but you would do all these other things. You would still intervene. There must be justice. There cannot be discrimination. This is incredibly important. That theft must be condemned. That they must, since it's a violation, there must be a punishment. The punishment must be commensurate. It must, you cannot distinguish between genders, and you cannot be swayed by emotions, and you must deliver the punishment. What the mode of delivery is varies with the age. So that is what I'm saying. Right. It's not about superior. You see, this is another misunderstanding. So people start saying, oh, so we're better than the people in the time of the Prophet. No. This isn't a competition. But it's that the time has changed. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't introduce chopping hands off. He didn't introduce this concept. The Arabs were doing much worse. They were killing the person. They were maiming them, chopping hands, feet, everything off. So the Prophet, in the time, the Sharia came with what they were already practicing, but restricted it to the least thing that they would accept. So they would accept that. So in this day and age, whatever punishment today, this isn't from today. By the way, this is Abul Qasim al-Burzali, the great Maliki scholar who I quoted from over 600 years ago. He said in his day and age, it should resort to financial penalties because money was the thing in his time. In the Ottoman son, Sulaiman al-Qanuni, the celebrated and well-known Muslim Ottoman Sultan, who is known as Solomon the lawgiver, he also did this with his law. That's why they call him al-Qanuni, because he made all these amendments to the Sharia in his time under the Ottoman state. And he came up with things like financial penalties and also imprisonment and stuff like this as well. Whatever you see fit in the day, and whatever the system, the judicial system sees appropriate. So whether it's things like today, confinement, prison, incarceration, locking people up, taking away their freedom, because we're in a day and age where freedom is now so much valued. You see, previously, it was like the corporal thing. That was seen as like, and then when wealth, Imam Burzuli said that wealth was seen as so much of a thing, it would harm them more. You see, because to those people, it would harm them more to take their wealth. And today, freedom is seen up there, and so freedom is the thing. And plus Allah has set humanity on a global path where there is like a trajectory. People are trying to improve in their interaction. Global ethics today, and as global ethics, and especially ethics as we understand them, has improved. So that's not to say, well, are you trying to say we've got better ethics than the Prophet? No, I'm not saying that. Because stop referring to the Prophet. Because the Prophet had the most noblest of ethics, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But his age didn't. His age. He was surrounded, like in his time, Arabia was plunged and the world was plunged into barbarism and vicious kind of outlooks towards life. The Prophet himself had the most noblest of ethics, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why I've always condemned anybody that's tried to, or condemned the view especially of anybody that's tried to bring down the Prophet. But the Prophet couldn't try to just change the ethics of the whole kind of continent around him. It wouldn't have worked. It was something that if he did try just embarking on that mission, he would have jeopardized the mission of connecting the creation with the Creator. So the main thing was the creation and the Creator, this link. And then the Messenger of Allah set things in motion, a trajectory, that when humans will reach that, they will change. And with that, the rulings will change, alhamdulillah. So that is what I'm trying to teach here. That look, it is not the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I think, in my understanding, if the Messenger of Allah was alive today, he would enhance our modern ethics and uplift them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is my personal belief. But he was in a time where it was a dark world. And the Prophet couldn't change everything. People say, oh yeah, but he told people not to drink alcohol and they stopped. Even that took so long. You have to remember that these things that, look, this, like somebody asked today about the hitting verse. Even the women in the time wouldn't accept that you say to them, oh, that men can't hit you. This is going to sound absurd, but this is what the Prophet was dealing with. Today, I mentioned in my previous Q&A, there was a Moroccan singer who sang this song, and she kind of said about, like, a real man that you can love is a man who hits you. And this was last year, and it created a huge controversy online. And then people went around and they interviewed several people in certain Arab parts of the world, and especially in North Africa, I think Algeria, Tunis, and especially Morocco. And some women were saying that, look, Yeah, like they were saying, look, we don't condone domestic violence. They were saying we don't condone, like, you know, somebody beating the hell out of you. But if we've gone, this is their words, and the interviews are on YouTube, and this is today in 2017. This was last year. These interviews, you can find them. They were saying, look, but if I do something wrong, like if I cock up on something, yeah, then I deserve a slap from my husband. And if he's a real man, he ought to slap me. Now, I disagree with this view. But this is today. How do you think people were back then in a warrior society? These people that the Prophet lived around, the only way I can give any resemblance to them for people to understand is like the Vikings. They predate the Vikings, by the way. And they lived in they just lived off things like raiding. And they weren't an agricultural people. They had some agriculture, but the Prophet's society didn't heavily rely on agriculture. And they were just like, the society around him was like a warrior fighting, and they were always about raids and death and this kind of stuff. Now, this thing is important to understand because that has a mindset in it. Now, in that mindset, the Prophet wanted to forbid hitting, any kind of hitting. And this is why the hadith of the Prophet, he said in the hadith, he said that I never have hit any of my wives or a child or any, ever. He said that. And he said the best of you, or the best of you to your women folk. And he said in the hadith, وَلَنْ يَضْرِبَ خِيَارُكُمْ. And if you were upon true goodness, you would never hit. And the verse in the Quran came, you know, this verse in Surah Nisa, and it said, look, oh, if you have a dispute, then do this, then try to talk, and if you can't, then, okay, hit them. But it began by saying, oh, if she was in the wrong, and you kind of accept that, try to do this, because the Quran was trying to come to them, but then it kind of, in an understanding that they would have accepted, because they wouldn't, even the women wouldn't have accepted anything else. But what did the Prophet say? The Prophet said in explaining that, but if you were upon goodness, you would never do that. Because he knew that, look, this is a society that rather than them, you know, rather than them kind of beating and so on, or doing these kind of things, then okay, allow it to place parameters on the least possible thing. That okay, if they hit in a non, like, crazy, like it said, like in a reasonable way. Because this is something that the men and women themselves will accept. Or I can try to change everybody's way of looking at the world and compromise the message. But inshallah, a time will come after these communities and so on, where people, this kind of culture will die out. And at that stage, this will be categorically haram. And this is why, shortly after the Prophet and in the time of the Tabi'een, Ata ibn Abi Rabah, the great faqih of Makkah, said it was haram to hit. He said it's haram. And you know this hadith of Ibn Abbas saying, oh, use the siwak, use the miswak, or use, it can be, it's read also, some narrations say shirak, like a shoelace. People say, oh, so this is how you hit. You pick up a miswak and you start. Then they say, why do people make a mockery of Islam? He said this sarcastically. Sarcasm. This was like, he was like mocking them, like in a way that, what the hell? Like, you're gonna, like, I'll tell you what then. Okay, use a shoelace. This was sarcasm. It wasn't, he wasn't being real, that like, because nobody would do that, duh. Nobody's going to pick a shoelace and then start hitting the other person. What kind of, unless they're playing some other games. I mean, what kind of stuff is going on here? So the Prophet wasn't happy with that. But he realized the community around him won't accept it. The women themselves won't accept it. So what he did is he placed parameters, and then he gave a trajectory. So he placed the parameters in saying, look, nothing harmful, you can't leave, you can't be serious, can't be bruising, can't be this, can't be that. Only like discipline in the way, okay, if it was like this. But then he set a trajectory. But if you were upon true goodness, you would never do this. And as people reach that trajectory in ethics, this will become haram. So this is my understanding. Okay, this is what the Messenger of Allah has been teaching. This is the understanding that several of these scholars have said along the way. Now the fact that and this is going to come back to, people will say the majority. Look, this isn't about majority. Okay, I keep explaining that the majority of the people lived in a time when it was the medieval age, when they had no problems with this. They're just like, yeah, what the hell, just beat the hell out of them. This kind of stuff isn't, and people use this to justify patriarchy. They use this to justify kind of domestic violence. This kind of stuff is haram. This is why in the hadith as well, it teaches, and in the fatwa of many of the Maliki ulama, if a husband had hit his wife, she could retaliate. She could take him to the judge and have he'd get beats. Back then they used to obviously hit as well. This is going into the medieval ages, of course. But yeah, so this is my understanding. Look, what I'm saying to you people is that some people will disagree with me. By all means, disagree with me. I'm not all I am doing, all I am doing is, with my understanding, reflecting what I see as beautiful in Islam to people. You may disagree with me. You may think that, this he's made a false argument. But all I've tried to do is see the beauty I see, reflect it as beautiful. So, now if you don't want to go with that, if you don't like that, by all means, the verse of the Quran, imsakum bi ma'rufin or tasrihun bi ihsan. Hold on to it, or let it go, let it slide. That's your understanding. To me, Islam is beautiful, and it does reflect the ethics of the age. That's what it wants. It does not condone these things. And yes, these verses in the Quran, this kind of a verse, it was because of that. And yes, it had many things which is still very relevant, but the delivery was something that it addressed that first community with, because that's all they wanted. But the Prophet placed parameters, he guided their morals and set a trajectory that this will become haram. So that's my understanding, people, inshallah. I kind of present that to you in the words of the poet, Ab jiske ji mein aaye isse le roshni, maine to dil jala kar sare-aam rakh diya. This is, whoever wants can take light from what I've said. Okay, what I've done is set my heart aflame and put it out there, people. Take it if you like it, or leave it, inshallah. With that, I'll wrap this up, inshallah. Well, somebody's asking about abuse. Same thing, once again, abuse of all forms is haram. Obviously, when you're saying verbal abuse, that is things that people are saying with an intention to harm someone. Because sometimes even swearing is not necessarily under verbal abuse. People sometimes in English use the F word a lot, things like this. This doesn't fall under, but abusing somebody is when you're doing something verbally to cause harm to the other person. And the hadith says that either that causing harm and dirar are haram. That this kind of stuff must be prevented. Okay, and in all honesty, look, what I'm going to say is that I get a lot of people contacting me about relationship stuff, yeah. And look, and I've done some talks, from my Q&As, they're on YouTube on relationships and stuff. But if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, look, everybody's a human. You're going to have ups and downs, and sometimes people are going to get, annoyed and ticked off by one another, and people might say things, the other person might say, and I suppose stuff happens. But if you're in a relationship, you need to seriously think that if you're going to be like this, like abusing the other person, verbally abusing them, doing this ain't gonna work. Okay, that is gonna break down, and you have set that trajectory yourself. So you have set a trajectory. Like, this is it is only going to break down. I can guarantee it. So if it means anything to you, if you value it, then that's not the way to go about it. Okay, you want to kind of like set it in. Yes, I accept, ups and downs, and people sometimes may raise their voice. Sometimes people may get angry. They may swear at each other and stuff like this. But you need to kind of obviously recognize, even then, as soon as you calm down, you need to kind of realize, try to freshen yourself, get out of that state of mind. One of the greatest things, seriously, this is one of the greatest things that the Prophet taught this ummah, and it's common sense. And it's not like, don't drink with your left hand and do all of this stuff that everybody gets obsessed about, or make sure the hijab is like this or this. He said, La taghdab, don't get angry. La taghdab, don't get angry. The greatest, some of the greatest nasiha ever. The companion asked the Prophet, give me something so, and this is what the Prophet said. So that's what I'd kind of like advise. And if people are in an abusive relationship, they're on the receiving end, then I would say that is utterly, like, this abuse is utterly unacceptable. Those people need to question the relationship they're in. Because if this is something that either needs to immediately stop, and obviously if they're not doing it, they're on the receiving end, I get that, but they need to make sure that stops. Or they need to leave and quit that relationship. They need to cut their losses and go. Because it's not on, this kind of stuff. That's categorical, clear abuse. I understand sometimes some people could say, whatever, and this is like, oh, we're just doing this, we're just doing that. And that was my advice before that. Look, if you advise that, people might say, well, I'm not sure if that's abuse, taunting or doing stuff. I don't like that kind of stuff personally. I would always advise people, if you value your relationship, never put the other person down. Ever. Ever. Honestly, this is one piece of advice that I would say, never put the other person down. Like, don't ever shatter their confidence. If you're in a relationship with somebody, the other person doing something, they start something out, like, even if they're doing it dumb or pathetic or whatever, they're making a fool, don't shatter their confidence ever. Don't put people, and don't feel that, you don't, like, for example, be derogatory to people in a way to put them down, to, in a way, raise yourself. You don't need to do that. This kind of stuff. This kind of stuff breaks relationships faster than actual abuse. And actual abuse definitely breaks it. So this kind of stuff, I would say, okay. And if you feel the relationship isn't working, cut your losses and go. That's what the world is. So with that, people, that's some words. I hope, inshallah, it makes sense. Obviously, I'm just... if my words don't make sense, I'm only human at the end of the day. As I was listening to Sagar Siddiqui, the legendary Urdu poet, and he says, he has a poem where he says, "Main aadmi hoon, farishta nahi huzur," that I'm a human, not an angel. Huzur, my dear, main aaj apni zaat se ghabra ke pee gaya. That today, from my own reality, I got so that I just had to drink. And he says that Kante to khair kante hain, unse gila hi kya. That thorns are thorns. Why should we even complain about them? Phoolon ki vardaat se ghabra ke pee gaya. That today the crimes committed by roses, that's what freaked me out, so I had to resort to drink. So there's some words, and some other, inshallah, where he said, Aao ek sajda kare aalam madhoshi mein. That people say I'm intoxicated. Let's do a prostration, a sajda, in this intoxicated state of mind. आओ एक सजदा करें आलम मदहोशी में, लोग कहते हैं कि सागर को खुदा याद. He said that people say that Sagar doesn't remember God. So let's fall in prostration. People, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. It's been awesome. Excellent kind of show. Great to see some of you on here. If If you have just logged in, tuned in today, do inshallah click like and subscribe to the notifications so you get them. Do like my pages. You can add me on both pages. I've got two, this page and my other page, the private public profile, same name, Mufti Abu Layth. You can reach out to me, send me messages. Snapchat Malm 2014 MALM 2014, inshallah. Other than that, keep spreading the love, people. Keep it going, huh? That's what it's all about. Gale lag ja zalim. Inshallah, take care, inshallah. Have an awesome week. Stay blessed. Over and out. Assalamu alaikum.